Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast, where you learn how to extract your business and personal deep wealth. I'm your host, Jeffrey Feldberg. This podcast is brought to you by Deep Wealth and the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience. When it comes to your business deep wealth, your exit or liquidity event is the most important financial decision of your life. But unfortunately, up to 90% of liquidity events fail. Think about all that time and your hard-earned money wasted. Of the quote-unquote successful liquidity events, most business owners leave 50% to over 100% of the deal value in the buyer's pocket and don't even know it. I should know. I said no to a 7-figure offer and yes to mastering the art and the science of a liquidity event. 2 years later, I said yes to a different buyer with a 9-figure deal. Are you thinking about an exit or liquidity event? Don't become a statistic and make the fatal mistake of believing the skills that built your business are the same ones to sell it. After all, how can you master something you've never done before? Let the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience and the 9-step roadmap of preparation help you capture the best deal instead of any deal. At the end of this episode, take a moment and hear from business owners like you who went through the Deep Wealth Experience. When your grandparents are entrepreneurs and your parents are entrepreneurs, is it really a surprise when you become a serial entrepreneur? This is what happened to Collette Portis. She has business in her DNA. The drive she inherited has always pushed her to reach for new accomplishments, earning 6 degrees, including a master's, completing her doctorate in transformational leadership, author of Goalie, her own business strategy system, radio host, and a contributing writer and influencer for Prime Women and the Metro Report magazine are only some of the things Collette has accomplished. As founder, CEO, and master business coach of Red Development Group, Collette has proven that her entrepreneurial roots run deep, helping her to take her company from $0 in revenue to more than 6 figures in just 9 months. With over 27 years of experience as a master business coach and a strategist, she has helped business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives expand and build capacity and sustainability. She was awarded an induction into the Career Mastered Women's Leadership in Action class, and under her leadership, Red has won the 2021 Nonprofit and Corporate Citizenship Award. It is her heart's desire to help business owners realize the full potential in their business, gain their freedom, and implement the steps to generational wealth and legacy. Collette Portis has proven to be a champion for business owners globally. Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. We have an author, thought leader, business owner, coach extraordinaire. Can you say success? Well, our guest is the poster child of success. Collette, I'm going to stop it right there because I got you the real deal. So welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. An absolute pleasure to have you with us. And Collette, I'm curious because there's always a story behind the story. So what's your story? What got you to where you are today?
First, thank you so much, Jeffrey, for having me on the show. I'm excited and ready to have some fun. My story, I promise you, it makes me chuckle every single time. I tell people I've been coaching for 30 years, and when they look at me, they go, "No way." I'm like, "Yeah, I have." And I started at the age of 16. I started working for the federal government at the age of 14.
Oh, my goodness.
And as God would have it, at 16, I was certified master in the Microsoft Office suite. And that was when the government was starting to roll it out to our military. And my boss's job was to train the military. So colonels, agents, all of them, the role was to train them before they went into the field or before they deployed. And so we had to train them on Microsoft Office. My boss would be training them. And back then, remember, there was no clicker. We only had 2-way directional arrows on a computer, so left and right. So if anybody was changing the slides, it was actually a physical person, and that person was me. And so I'd be changing the slides for him and he'd be teaching. And my 16-year-old self would be in the back mumbling, "That's going to get him killed. That's going to give away the country's secrets." And after a while, he just got tired of it. And he was like, "Collette, if you think you can do it better, then you do it." So I stand up and I hit a couple of hotkeys and I'm like, "Just do that." And so now mind you, I'm this little Black girl. I'm 5 feet now and I'm 45, right? I'm in this room. It's all white-haired white men, all colonels, high-ranking military officials that he's teaching this, right? So they all go, ooh, like we're in high school or something like that.
Right.
And so after a while, he would go, Colette, am I telling them to do this the right way? And eventually he was like, you know what? I'm going to be the clicker. Colette's going to be the one teaching. And so that happened. And then they would start flying them in from our bases all over the world for me to teach them how to deploy the Microsoft Office suite and how to teach their units and how to get their units to buy into using the technology, why the technology was important, what kinds of things they could do with it. And so that's how I started. And then every company I went to, from Fortune 5 companies down to mom and pop shops, I would always find myself leaders and coaching the executives. I even had the opportunity to support one of our directors in HR when I worked for Sprint with developing the professional development program for the C-suite.
Wow.
So I've just had these opportunities that have come my way that have just allowed me to be in this role, and I love it.
That's amazing. And for our listeners who don't have the privilege and the pleasure, Colette, of seeing you like I am, I've got to tell you, Colette, today, as we record this, it looks like you just graduated from high school. So I can only imagine back in the day to see you with these colonels in the military and all these high-ranking officials. But my goodness, what a terrific lesson for life that you must have had with that, to get that confidence coming out of there. And so, Colette, if we fast forward to today, because you're a business coach extraordinaire, and, here you were as really a youngster with all these colonels and high-ranking folks. And when you take that experience and you're working with business owners, I got to share, even today, I still feel, despite all the accomplishments and everything else from my side, I still feel imposter syndrome from time to time. Are you seeing that a lot in the coaching, and any tips for that before we kick things off?
Yeah, no, I will have to admit, one day, Jeffrey, I'll have to tell you the story of me hanging up the red phone at 16 years old on a colonel who was yelling. I mean, I just felt like he wasn't having a good day. So he didn't need to talk to anybody at that moment. And I asked him to call us back when he was done, although I shouldn't have been answering the red phone. So for me, imposter syndrome has never really been a thing that impacted my life. It's always been overachievement that impacted my life. But yes, I see it quite a bit. And one of the things that I have to remind executives and CEOs of all of the time is the thing that is most amazing about you is your authenticity and your sincerity. Who you are is who the world needs, not the imposter that you think we want. Who we need. Some people might want you to be that imposter. That is true. That happens. But what the world needs is you authentically exercising the greatness that is you that nobody else can do. One of the things that we do in my company is we have an assessment that we do for all leaders in the company. And this assessment helps them to understand the greatness of who they are. And normally people will go, I'm a procrastinator. And I'll go, no, you're a deep thinker. We deploy that assessment and help them and the company understand the value of that deep thinker and that they need to be coupled with someone who's action-oriented. But that action-oriented person needs someone who's a deep thinker. And so when we see that imposter syndrome, we are able to alleviate that or begin to alleviate that almost immediately, because we start with that assessment is one of the things we start with.
Wow, what a terrific assessment. We're going to talk about your coaching and your system in just a moment. I got to tell you, Colette, as you're talking about that, you remind me of one of my favorite quotes, Oscar Wilde, be yourself, everyone else is taken. A few words that say so much, particularly today with all the social programming and FOMO, social media and everything else. But let me ask you this, because I'd be remiss. You wrote a book, actually a workbook, a strategy book. And what blew me away was every single chapter, and I'll just read out a few chapter titles, ends in plan. So talk about being strategic and methodical and putting everything out there. Growth plan, work plan, spiritual plan, personal plan, family plan, and it goes on. Social media plan, branding plan. It goes on and on. Absolutely love that. So congratulations with the book. Colette, why don't we do this? Because you are really like the rocket fuel for our listeners who can catapult them to the next level. Maybe they want more growth with revenues or profits. You can do that. Maybe they need some help. They're going to go into a brand new market. They've never been there before. They need to know the ins and outs. You could do that as well. So culture-wise, you could do that. But let me ask you this. With the gazillion owners, CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs that you coach, I'm wondering if we can lean on Pareto's law or the 80-20 rule, that 80% of the issues that you're seeing are probably being caused by the same 20%. So what's common out there? What would be some of the top suspects or the top, hits, 1, 2, or 3 that give business owners the most problems?
Yes. One of the things right now today that's most present, that has been since 2020, is this idea that people don't want to work. I promise you, I've had conversations with CEOs who are yelling at the top of their lungs at me because they want me to understand and believe that people don't want to work. And I always say, have you met anyone that says, I don't want to take care of my family? I've never met anyone that says that. The problem is they don't want to work for you, right? Finding your workforce is not as challenging as we think it is. Yes, it's more challenging when we haven't defined who we are. We've gone centuries without really defining who we are or telling people who we are. My Bishop Jakes talks about going to Nike, and he talked about being at Nike, and it didn't matter who he encountered. They told him the same story about Nike because that brand is not just about letting its customer know who it is, but the people inside the customer inside of their company, which is their employees, also understood who they are, understand what they're working to achieve. They understand those things. And we've not done a good job for a very long time of helping people to understand who we are and what we want to do. So that's number one. People want to be a part of something big. And if you give them something big to be a part of, I'm telling you, they will join you. The other thing you have to have is the appropriate work environment. And that means you got to have systems and processes in place that allow them to do good work. People want to do good work. People who don't like their job don't feel like they have the opportunity to do good work. They don't have the resources. They don't have the backing. They don't have the support to do. People want to do good work. So number one, workforce is about getting somebody to come along on your big idea. Number two is about giving them the best environment in order to be their best and do their best. And then number three is going to be to celebrate, push, and have that vision that allows people to want to stay connected to you and not have the idea what people have to be here. No, they don't. I think we learned that in 2020 and 2021.
Right.
They don't have to be here. People are finding other ways to care for their families rather than coming to your job if you think that they have to be.
Love that. So there's a lot to unpack there that could be an episode in and of itself, each one of those things. Let's just quickly go back to the first one before we go into your system. And really, when you're talking about vision and mission and you're tying that into culture, you are so spot on with that. It reminds me, Colette, of a Glassdoor survey where they asked employees, both in a company and both ones who were looking to join a new company, either what keeps you there or what moves you there. And money was towards the bottom of the list. And to your point, at the top of the list, what's the leadership team like? What's the vision like? What's this company going to be doing? And Colette, you took a page right out of our book in our 9-step roadmap. X factors. One of them is culture, which includes your vision. And how are you inspiring your team? What are you doing? Or are you just same old like everyone else? So I absolutely love that. So with that, you put together a great foundation for us, Colette, what you're doing. So with your system, I'm a business owner, I'm listening to this podcast, and I'm saying, okay, yes, Colette can make the difference for me. I want to have her coach me, coach my team, and we sign up with you. Walk us through your system. What happens? What does that look like? What are you going to put us through?
Yes. So, Jeffrey, the job of a CEO, part of the job of a CEO is to have vision. And what I find in my area of expertise, there's a lot of us as coaches who are heavily focused on the vision. And yes, we focus on the vision. But before we do that, our first step is to evaluate your company. So first, we're going to figure out what capacity is your company functioning at? What's your operational maturity? What's the greatness that exists inside the human capital, inside your internal customer, which is your team? What's their capacity for growth? How are you thinking and making decisions, and how are your leaders thinking and making decisions? We're going to evaluate all of that kind of stuff first. We need to find out where you are before we can develop a roadmap. Secondarily, I told you I started my career with the federal government. So everything they do is about strategy, right? So there's no wonder that everything that I do is about strategy. So that second step we're going to take is developing the strategy that gets you where you want to be. Gone are the days where we go, I want to make $500 million this year. So, okay, how do we do that? What is it that you want to do to get to that thing? One of the things that I say all the time, in medicine, they will prescribe you a medication to solve the symptom rather than the problem.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
In business, we will plan for the symptom rather than the problem. You get what I mean? So rather than saying, here are the things we need to fix so that we can get to $500 million, we go, we're going to get to $500 million. Everybody get excited. Let's draw up something that looks really pretty. And then 90 days later, nobody knows where the plan is. It's like, no, we got to build a strategy that's effective and clear and concise and that gets people excited. And then third, we are going to help you implement it. That's what makes Red different. The thing that makes Red different is 9 times out of 10, you're going to engage a company that's either going to evaluate your company and say, here's what you need to fix, and here's what you're doing. Or you're going to find a company that says, we'll help you develop your strategy. Or you'll find a company that says, we'll help you move the company forward. We're doing all three of those. Because we're doing all three of those, we have such an intimate understanding of your company, your team, and where you are and where you want to go, that 92% of our clients double, triple, or quadruple their revenue in as little as 10 months.
Wow, incredible. Let me go back to step number 1 of your system, and I'm going to call it mindset. And perhaps that's oversimplifying things. I'm wondering, Collette, with well-intentioned CEOs, business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs, whatever title you want to call it, what are some of the myths, some of the, I'll call them lies that we're telling ourselves that is actually getting in the way of achieving the goal, knocking it down, tackling it, getting on to the next one? What's going on there? What are you seeing?
I think the number one thing that I'm seeing is that we think we're clearly communicating who we are, what we do, and why we're doing it. And we're not. And a lot of times that starts at the beginning. It starts at the beginning and we never really get there, but we're not being clear about who we are, what we do, why we're doing it. If we can become clear about that, then people can decide if they want to go along with us. That is what's most important. Give people the option to decide if they want to go along with you. That's the number one thing that I'm seeing, just lack of clarity. Grant Cardone is my coach, and we were in a group coaching, and they stopped probably about 15, 20 minutes into this group coaching and said, you know what, we have to go back and do a clarity session. So for all of you who, and now these are companies that are making great money, they have great revenues, they have teams, all of that. But even in that group, they needed to go back and do a clarity session. All right, let's get clear on who you are. If you think the pandemic did not impact your business to the point where you need to do a reset and become clear again, you are missing the boat. Everybody needs to take a step back because so much has changed in the world. It's supply chain. The way we create products, one of our clients is Arizona, the Arizona beverage company that makes Arnold Palmer teas. And they had to go back and go, wait, we have to reset because guess what? Some of the things that we use to create our product is not available. So how do we keep making this delicious watermelon juice, right? If we can't find some of the product, but that requires a reset because that is directly connected to their brand and one of their products that they're known best for. Now, it wasn't that product, but I'm just using that as an example. If that's what you're known and then you can't get what you need in order to produce that, then who are you now?
Yeah, that's terrific. And I really like how you're focusing on clarity to really do a reality check. And I suspect, and Colette, you can tell me if I'm off base, on base with this, when we lack clarity, we're like the emperor with no clothes. And we're walking around town thinking everything's great, but it really isn't. And those even closest to us or around us perhaps don't feel comfortable telling us, hey, Jeffrey, you know what, your strategy is really off base or the performance is really terrible. You could do a whole lot better. We're not hearing that. So Colette, digging into that because it's so foundational what you're sharing with us, what would be some of the tools or techniques that you're using with your clients to really get things crystal clear, to go from clear as mud to clear as crystal?
So when we start with anyone, Jeffrey, once we've done the assessments, we go back and we look at their core values, their mission statement, their vision statement. One of two things is going to happen. Either we need to clarify it or you need to be more in touch with it. And now it needs to become your battle cry and your rally cry so that people get it. That's the first thing we do. And once we do that, as we build their strategy, we're making sure. Because if you look at that book, you're going to see there's two things that's connected to every plan. Number one, we believe in the one word. So there's a book called The One Word. And I believe this, that there's one word. And at the beginning of the year, you get one word. And most of the time, we don't even think about it, right? We don't engage with it or anything. But you could be walking and in full thought about something, and this one word will just drop into your brain, and you just blow it off normally. We teach our executives and CEOs, don't blow it off. Go read the definitions for that word. Go figure out how that word connects with where you are driving or want to drive your company this year. So you're at the top of that plan, you're going to see that word, right? What is it? And everybody has their own word, and everybody has a different word. But that word we get to use as an accountability point because you're going to share that word. A lot of our companies have boards with the pictures of their employees and their one word next to it because then people can hold them accountable for it. But that one word's there. Their mission statement is there, or their vision statement is there, or their core values are there, because those are the things that allow you to hold people accountable. It also allows you to celebrate people who are being true to that. And it allows your people inside of your company, as well as your clients and your vendors and everyone else, to hold you accountable to the standards that you have set for how this business is going to function and operate in order to get to the goals that we have set for it.
Well said, Colette. And, I loved in your book, right off the bat, we're talking chapter 1 before you even pass go. You're having things like, okay, what's your mission? What's your vision? But I wanted to ask you something because it's so poignant and it just jumped off the page for me. Before you even get going, you're asking, hey, what are your core values? And I got that. But for our listener who's listening, come on, Jeffrey, core values. Yeah, mission, I get, vision, I get, but come on, core values, who needs that? We'll just throw something nice out there, be some fancy words on a paper, on a plaque, we're done. Why don't you tell the listener why that's probably not the best way to achieve the results and the value in core value?
Yes. So the way we see it is your mission, vision, core values. Those three things are the constitution of your organization. They shouldn't change. Core values, like one of our core values at Red is win-win. Most people go, we're going to make it a win-win situation. No, we took it a step further and said, we're going to make it a win. We believe that winning is not a zero-sum game. Everybody doesn't have to lose. So when we sit at the table, it doesn't matter what we're doing. We have to win. They have to win. And our collective client base has to win. How do we figure that out? How do we get to that place? How do we make that happen? I'll tell you a story. And this is when I knew that core values were absolute pertinent. I had a mentor, and He was amazing. He really was amazing. And he and I were on a phone call. And at that point, he wanted to make an investment in one of my companies. And that investment would have held us over and allowed us to do some amazing things and would have held us over for 5 years. That's how big this investment was. And then during the conversation, he sends me a text message and he says, look at this new thing that I'm investing in. So he sent me these different companies that he was investing in. And one of them was a company that was in direct conflict with my core values. And it was at that moment that I had to make a decision. And I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to be able to do it, because I had to come to the understanding that should something happen, and he's already connected to my company, things aren't secrets anymore. There's very few secrets. We've got the internet. So you know who's investing in what and what their core values are. And we see it play out in the news every day. And so I had to go, do I want that connected to my brand at any moment in time? And the answer was no. And as a result, even though this is a man that I would trust with my life, I had to say no. And I had to say no because I knew that I couldn't stand and say, this is my core value, knowing that it was in direct conflict with this other thing that he had going. Wow. So those are the things that are going to help you decide what relationships you should be in, what relationships you shouldn't be in, who you should hire, who you shouldn't hire. If you hire them, do they have conflict? Your core values should be associated with questions that you ask when you're interviewing somebody. When you're interviewing, you're not really looking to find out what their skills are. They told you on their resume.
Absolutely.
They told you whether or not they can use that technology on the resume. What you should be trying to determine is, do they fit into your culture? What kind of person is this? What kind of core values do they have? What are they looking to achieve in their life? And does that align with your company?
Yeah, so crucial. Hire for personality, train for skills, as the saying goes. And what's amazing when you just shared that story, Collette, and you know your core values, really what you're doing is you're building your culture. And at Deep Wealth, one of the ways we have companies just exceed expectations, they get the best deal instead of any deal, is that their culture is uniquely them. Because money, to your point, Collette, money, your competition can be 100 times better capitalized than you. And they can use their capital to hire your employees, copy your technology, copy everything you're doing except one thing, your culture. Money cannot buy culture. And it's your culture that sets you apart. So with that story, at least in your company, you have a culture of integrity and doing what you say, saying what you do. And that really speaks volumes. That's hard to copy out there. And so when everyone follows their own unique values, you get that clarity, to your point, which builds into that mindset that you can build that strategy around, and then you go dominate and implement in the marketplace. Would I be on base with that?
You are absolutely on base with that, Jeffrey.
And so let me ask you this. Your clients that have gone through your system, you've worked with them, however long you've worked with them, and I know every business is different. There's always exceptions. Everyone is on his or her own unique journey. What would be some of the, I'll call them, common accomplishments that you're seeing your clients are now achieving, whereas before they worked with you, it was just not happening or wanted it, but it just wasn't going to materialize?
Yeah. So the number one thing that we're seeing is definitely an increase in their revenue. And the secondary thing is they are using their money better. A lot of times we're making the money, but we're not using it the right way. One of the things that I teach my CEOs and my executives is, when you make a buying decision, I need you to think about whether or not you're going to see a return on your investment within 90 days. Can you see a return on your investment within 90 days? If the answer is no, okay, because that's not going to happen 100% of the time. If the answer is no, are you going to see a significant change in the way you do business? Those are the things you have to think about. So they are using their money and they're using their time in ways that is different than what they were doing prior to getting to us. Then third, their company cultures, the way they're hiring, their teams. These companies are driving growth so significantly and so quickly and efficiently that it is just a phenomenal thing to see. Because once you start to work with the people you want to work with and they want to work with you, then that is just something different. It makes for something really beautiful. And it also allows them, we're seeing our companies really expand into the global market and become more global. So we've got companies out of Mexico that are moving into the US market. We have US companies that are moving into the market over in India, and maintaining their company culture and strengthening their company culture, because their cultures are becoming more inclusive because they have to, because their workforces are in 2 different countries. And so because of that, you've got different languages, you've got different ways in which people communicate, you've got different holidays, you have different ways in which people respond to different things. And so these companies are becoming richer because they understand, the team understands the value of this individual. And because they understand the value of this individual and how they fit into the team, they are more apt to support, hear, spend time with, and understand the culture of their other teammates, which creates better work for them.
That's terrific. And as you're talking, Collette, let's go back to something that you said at the start of the conversation. I'm going to say the pandemic is behind us. Let's go with that. That works for me. I'm sure it works for most people as well. And you said, hey, you know what? The post-pandemic world is very different than pre-pandemic. And for some of our listeners are saying, come on, aside from maybe some things being closed or supply chain or lockdowns, everything else is more or less the same. You're saying, hey, not really. What would be some of the biggest changes post-pandemic in the business world, society perhaps, that you're seeing that, take note, make some changes? It isn't the same. Change or die.
Yeah. One of the things is culture. You've got to change it or you die. Because people just are not coming to work in places they don't want to work in anymore. They are not doing jobs that they don't want to do anymore. And the other piece of that is make sure you have the right people in the right place, doing the right thing, right? Not just because you think they should be there. Figure out some way to measure where they should sit in your company. So you know you have the right amount of people in the right places, in the right spaces, so that they are enriched by their work rather than burdened by their work. The other thing that was really great that came out of the pandemic is technology. Oh my God. Tech is moving so much faster now than it was pre-pandemic. There's tech for everything. If you're not using AI in some way in your business, you are putting yourself light years behind everybody else who is using AI, and it has so many functions. That doesn't mean that you get rid of your people. That means that you get an opportunity to enhance the work of your people. Okay? That's what that means. You get an opportunity to enhance the work of your people. What does that mean, Collette? That means that if someone's doing your public relations work, if they're still writing your press releases and by themselves, why? If someone's doing the content for your social media or your website, if they're still writing that stuff without using AI, why? Why would they ever be doing that? With AI, you can put a subject in AI and in less than a minute, it'll write you a 200-word article. Why would I not let AI start this thing for me? Now, that's not the end all be all. You still need your people, because now you got to take that article and put it in your own voice. And now you've got to take that article and add your own statistics and things like that into it. So if you're not using tech, oh my God, I don't even know what to say. If you're not using tech, like, you are really going to make your company a dinosaur if you're not. And when I say tech, like, I'm not meaning social media. A lot of times we think the problem in our company is social media. It really isn't. It 9 times out of 10 is the least of the problems that exist. But where the real problem exists is, how am I supporting my team in the way they work every day? I think the other day I must have bought 2 different pieces of technology. And there's so many ways you can do it. There's ways where you can buy technology. Instead of paying a monthly subscription, you can pay one fee and have a lifetime subscription, keeping your costs down in your company. And that's the other thing, Jeffrey. You gotta manage, gotta make sense. You gotta manage costs. How are you doing that? How are you managing costs? And then are you hiring people in a full-time role that could really be a project-based where you can hire someone that's a gig worker to do that? Big companies are doing that.
And Collette, what's great about what you're talking about here, and I really appreciate it because, again, you're taking the same playbook that we use at Deep Wealth. You're more on the art side of business, which is the most overlooked area. But the art side, that's what moves the dial on results, on growth, on market disruptions. And further to that, your focus on clarity and mindset. If you have the right clarity, you have the right culture. And to your point, that right culture, hey, how can we embrace technology? Hey, is this investment? Is it an investment? Are we going to get an ROI in 90 days or is it going to be 900 days? Never asked that before, but now we have this culture of transparency and accountability. So love what you're doing. Truth is, Collette, you and I could just go down these different rabbit holes for hours and days. But that said, we need to start wrapping up. And let me ask you this. It's my favorite question. I'm going to set it up for you. We'll have some fun with this one. And I want you to think of the movie Back to the Future. And in the movie, you have that magical DeLorean car that can go to any point in time. So Collette, here's the fun part is tomorrow morning, you look outside your window. Not only is the DeLorean car curbside, the door is open. It's waiting for you to hop on in. So you hop in. And now you're going to visit your younger self. Collette, as a young child, a teenager, whatever point in time that's going to be, what are you telling your younger self in terms of life wisdom or life lessons? Or, hey, Collette, do this, but don't do that. What would that sound like?
So what I haven't told you, Jeffrey, is that I have 6 college degrees.
Oh, my goodness.
And I came from a family of entrepreneurs. My mom, my dad, both sets of grandparents, my aunts and uncles. I didn't know a time clock existed until I was 27 when I was traumatized by it. But they still told me to go to college, get a degree, get a good job that's going to pay you a pension, retire in 40 years, right? They still told me that, even though none of them did that. None of them did that. So I did. Because I was one of those kids that listened. If you told me what to do, I would do it. I've always loved wisdom. And so I went to college. I got 6 degrees. And then I was like, why is it that I'm not rich? Somebody didn't tell me the right thing. I don't know how it is that I have 6 degrees and I am not rich. So what I would do, I would get into that car. I would go find my younger self. And I would say, graduate at college at 17, go to the community college, take the other 2 courses that you need to get this associate's degree, and then go start your business. That's what I would not have done. I would not have done 6 degrees. I don't even know if I would have even gotten a bachelor's degree.
Oh, my goodness. When I was reading that intro, I sang 6 degrees. So, Collette, what are you saying? A 7th degree not happening at this point? That's just off the radar?
Let me tell you something. They would have to take me to a chair. And then, even then, I would refuse to think or write. I would not. I'm done with that kind of classroom.
1 degree for some people, even 2 degrees, but 6 degrees? Oh my goodness, you just hit that baby out of the park.
Overkill.
Overkill. And that's a lesson in and of itself. Sometimes good is good enough. And done's always better than perfection. But let me ask you this, Collette. We're going to put everything in the show notes. We're going to have the link to your book. And by the way, for the listeners, I'll tell you the name of the book, but you'll just point and click. It can't get any easier. And I love what you did with it, Collette. Goalie, grafting objectives around longevity and entrepreneurship. It'll be a point and click. We'll have your website, your social media there. But if someone wants to reach you online, they have a question, they want to become a client, they want to hear from you, Collette, where's the best place for them to go?
The best place for them to go, Jeffrey, is reddevelopmentgroup.com.
Okay.
And if they go out there today, they will have an opportunity to download one of the resources I've used over the years to really help CEOs and executives drive change in their company. It's called CEOs Finish Strong. It's a checklist about 173 different points, but you can score yourself to see where you are. And I promise you, there's going to be some things on that list that you just didn't think about. And so I've used it And if you don't have a coach, or if you're looking for one, it's really going to help you understand who you need and what they need to have in order to support you. So that's at reddevelopmentgroup.com. If you go there, it'll pop right up. It won't be there long for free, but you can go out there and you can download it right now for free.
Terrific. So we'll have that link for our listeners, and go do it. Take her up on the offer, book a call with her, get things going. Yeah. You have everything to gain, absolutely nothing to lose. Collette, it's official. It's a wrap. And as we wrap up this episode, really a heartfelt thank you. You've shared your wisdom, your insights, what you've learned along the way. And as we like to say here at Deep Wealth, please continue to stay healthy and safe and thrive and prosper. God bless, Collette.
God bless you as well, Jeffrey. Thank you for having me.
The Deep Wealth experience was definitely a game changer for me.
This course is one of the best investments you will ever make, because you will get an ROI of 100 times that. Anybody who doesn't go through it will lose millions.
If you don't have time for this program, you'll never have time for a successful liquidity.
I mean, it was the best value of any business course I've ever taken. The money was very well spent.
Compared to when we first began, today I feel better prepared, but in some respects, maybe less prepared, not because of the course, but because the course brought to light so many things that I thought we were on top of that we need to fix.
I 100% believe there's never a great time for a business owner to allocate extra hours into his or her week or day. So it's an investment that will yield results today. I thought I will reap the benefit of this program in 3 to 5 years down the road. But as soon as I stepped forward into the program, my mind changed immediately.
There was so much value in the experience that the time I invested paid back so much for the energy that was expended.
The Deep Wealth experience compared to other programs is the top. What we learned is very practical. Sometimes you learn stuff that is great to learn, but you never use it. The stuff we learned from Deep Wealth experience, I believe is going to benefit us both.
I've done an executive MBA. I've worked for billion-dollar companies before. I've worked for smaller companies before I started my business. I've been running my business successfully now for getting close to a decade. We're on a growth trajectory. Reflecting back on the Deep Wealth, I knew less than 10% what I know now. Maybe close to 1% even.
Hands down, the best program in which I've ever participated. And we've done a lot of different things over the years. We've been in other mastermind groups, gone to many seminars, workshops, conferences, retreats, read books. This was so different. I haven't had an experience that's anything close to this in all the years that we've been at this. It's 5-star, A+.
I would highly recommend it to any super busy business owner out there. And Deep Wealth is an accurate name for it. This program leads to deeper wealth and happier wealth, not just deeper wealth. I don't think there's a dollar value that could be associated with such an experience and knowledge that could be applied today and forever.
Are you leaving millions on the table? Please visit www.deepwealth.com/success to learn more. If you're not on my email list, you'll want to be. Sign up at www.deepwealth.com/podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, if it added value, if you walked away with some new insights and strategies, please leave a review on your favorite podcast channel. Reviews help us reach new listeners, grow the show, and continue to create content that you'll enjoy. And as we wrap up this episode, as always, please stay healthy and safe.